This is Justin.
And this is Haley, and you're listening to The Price of Avocado Toast.
We're a married millennial couple wanting to normalize conversations about money. We want to hear about your highs and your lows,
The do's and the don'ts on your path towards financial freedom. Hi Toasties, welcome to The Price of Avocado Toast.
Whether you're a first-time listener or you've been following us from the start of this thing, we're so glad to have this conversation with you today.
Okay, so I keep hearing podcasters talking about how podcasting is like this super intimate platform and all that jazz. And I never really understood it until I'm sitting here recording, like rocking my baby to sleep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you might hear the baby cooing and making sounds.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're like in our house right now.
Exactly. Kennedy is joining us for a little late night recording session. She's still awake, so Haley is got her wrapped up and bouncing along with her. And luckily, our episode today was planned to be a pretty quick one.
Yeah.
So it makes it kind of nice. We'll be able to record and then hopefully get her down. But the joys of parenting young ones.
Yeah. Balancing podcasting. So what are we talking about today?
So today, you guys, it's kind of funny. We're going to talk about compound interest because it's been on our minds a lot recently. And it must be on the minds of most friends in the financial space because we've seen like 3 different accounts within the past 2 days talk about compound interest. So something is definitely going on.
It's all over the place. I saw Mimi from Meadowsweet Money posted just today about investing, and she said, you know, even $10 a week is better than nothing because that will compound to be over $100,000 down the road.
Yeah.
And it seems like, you know, we have this idea that you can't invest until you have a buttload of money to invest, but I think that that's not necessarily true.
Oh, definitely. Every little bit counts. And Lexa from Avocado Toast Budget has been kind of doing a series the last couple of days of like, if you just invest this much a month, then you'll have this much by the end of like 30 years. And so just kind of sharing the idea that like compound interest really is your friend. And then you said you also saw Chris from Everyday Millennial had mentioned something about compound interest as well. So shout out to all of them. Clearly, we're all on the same wavelength because last week I was like, hey, we got to do compound interest soon. And then everybody starts talking about it. So I love it. That's awesome. Now, many of you listeners might already know about compound interest, and we love that idea. But for the one person who's not, we really want to make clear what compound interest is and ways that it can help or hurt you because our target audience is millennials. Mm-hmm. If you're one of the younger millennials, you know, on the underside of 30, compound interest is really your friend if you do the right things. And we want to help you get ahead of the curve. So we thought it'd be important to share just a little bit about that today.
And if you are a mid-age or older millennial in your mid to late 30s and you have no idea about this, don't feel bad. Like, if you didn't learn, you didn't learn. So we're here to hopefully teach you a little something, because we're relatively new to this as well. We didn't know anything about compound interest, what it was. I mean, I think we had a really misconstrued view on interest. I know I most definitely did. So can you tell us like what it is? Because I feel like we got to start there. What is compound interest?
Yeah. So compound interest is essentially either interest earned or that, grows that you'll have to pay back at a compounding rate, meaning that as the interest grows, the balance in whatever the account is grows, and then interest grows on top of that new number. For example, let's say I have a $100 credit card bill, and my interest is, 10%. Well, then 10% of that $100, $10, is going to be added onto my bill. And then when they go to take 10% of that to find the new interest, it's now $110 that they're going to look at. So we're at $11 of that. And then you add that on, and now we're at $121, and so on and so forth. So it compounds upward. It's never just the original $100 that I spent. And this can be really, really dangerous when you're working with debt, because a lot of times different credit cards or different debts owed or debt collectors have different rates of compounding interest, and they also have different time frames, so to speak, of how they collect interest. So maybe it's an annual interest, maybe it's semi-annual, maybe they have some other crazy terms, and interest shows up at different times. I shouldn't say different times because it wouldn't be just like herky jerky whenever. It's gonna obviously be laid out. But like semi-annual interest can really hurt you versus just like 1 year, annual interest statements. So when you're looking into debt, like this is a huge, huge problem.
So, okay, my understanding of interest in general was always just that it was the initial number, and that is so wrong. So, for example, like if I took a $20,000 loan out for student loans or for whatever, and it had a 7% interest rate, my thought was that I would only pay $1,400 of that, just added on. So the $20,000 loan would then be a $21,000 loan. I had no idea that it would just get more and more and more, and that's how people end up, I've been paying on my student loan for 10 years and it is more than it was when I ever took it out.
Yeah. Now, I do actually want to give you some credit there. I'm pretty sure that is interest. I think that's just called simple interest, where it doesn't compound and it's just a standard interest rate based off of the initial loan value.
Okay, who has that
or
though?
balance. Well, I believe that sometimes different business opportunities can put that out there as a way for you to make money.
Gotcha.
So I think that's what that's called, is simple interest. And we'll look it up right after the podcast. Or shoot, I can look it up right now.
All right.
Let's look up. We'll just Google simple interest. So simple interest is interest calculated on the principal portion of a loan or the original contribution to a savings account. Simple interest does not compound, meaning that an account holder will only gain interest or pay interest on the principal, and a borrower will never have to pay interest on interest already accrued. So you are technically correct. That is simple interest, not compound interest.
But like student loans, I think student loans, credit cards, all of that.
Yeah.
Those
Retirement
continue to-
accounts, the good
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, those are all compound interest.
So what about like a car payment?
Car
'Cause you
payment.
take the initial loan out, right? Isn't it all wrapped up in one thing?
My understanding is that car payments are typically simple interest as well.
Okay.
I don't believe they're compound interest, because if you were to look at it, when you take out a car loan, you take it out for a specified term, right? So maybe 7 years for this payoff, and then the interest payment is already calculated for you, and then that calculates into your monthly payments, right? So you're going to take out a vehicle at $10,000 and 5% interest rate over the life of a 6-year loan, so 72 months. Well, they'd calculate your interest and then divide all of that over the 72 months, and that would be your standard car payment for the 72 months of your loan.
Okay, so if we're doing the math from our Forerunner, it was a $50,000 car.
Yes.
And it was like about 5% interest. It was a $680 payment a month or something like that. It might have been like $683.
Yeah, something like that.
Over 7 years. So the interest paid on that is just under $10,000. So does that mean that over the course of the time you're paying $60,000?
Not quite, because cars, remember, they are a simple interest. That would be more if it was compound interest. So we didn't have to pay quite that much. It wouldn't have been $10,000, but it would have been more than the original loan, and that's important to remember.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah, that's why it's really important when you're looking at debt or even interest that's working in your favor to find out whether it's simple or compound interest, because it's really, really important how your money's growing or what it's doing to you that you're going to have to pay back on the back end.
That can really be a really good thing when you're investing, and then not so great thing when you have credit card debt or student loan.
It can be pretty brutal. So, you guys, we found a really cool website that we wanted to share with you called moneychimp.com, and on there they have a debt payment calculator. And you can go in, you can type in your current debt, the interest rate on your debt, and the monthly payment that you have to make on it. And it will calculate how much it would, or how long it would take you to pay off that debt at the payment that you're making, and the total interest paid on that payment. Now, this is a compound interest calculator, the way that I'm looking at it, because it is a credit card payment calculator. So they're going to count it as compound interest, but it can really kind of show you some of the dangers of credit card payments and when you're only making the minimum balance. So will you plug some numbers in live for me, honey?
Yep.
Okay, so let's say that I have a $17,000 credit card debt.
Okay.
And I just had a shopping spree. And my interest rate on that, it's a pretty brutal card. So let's say that it's got 21% interest.
That's kind of low. Let's say 25, because that's about normal.
Okay, 25. Perfect. And let's say that my monthly payment on that is $400. That's a pretty high payment. $400. All right, well, let's see how long it would take me to pay this off. So that would take me 98 months to pay if I was only paying $400.
Oh my God.
So $17,000 worth of debt, I'm only paying $400 a month. That's going to take 98 months to pay, which is a little over 8 years, which is terrifying. And the total interest paid on that would be $22,187. So
On top of
the interest paid
17,000.
would be more than the actual debt that I originally began with. And this is the danger of high credit card debt. This is what's really scary. And that's why the debt snowball or the debt avalanche method really, really helps you get out of debt. Because if you're making minimum payments, you'll be drowning in it forever, and you're going to pay over the original debt in interest alone.
And I think the debt avalanche method, which is where you pay the highest interest first, is really a great approach when you do have credit card debt versus like student loans or a car loan. You know, those are fixed interest rates. Not like credit cards are not fixed interest rates, but they're much significantly
lower.
You know, some people have really high student loan interest rates at like 8%. That's very high.
Yeah, that's considered high.
And credit cards are, you know, usually between 18 and 30%. They're ridiculous.
Yeah.
So that's a significant difference.
And so when you look at something like this where the total interest paid is more than the current debt, that's how these credit card companies get away with giving people all these miles and points and amenities on top of, you know, whatever when they pay off their debt, because low income earners that are struggling in credit card debt are paying this exorbitant amount of interest and fees, and that's essentially subsidizing all these flights for the credit card company. So it doesn't really matter. They have the money to pay these travel hackers or people that are, you know, taking advantage of the credit card system, because on the low end, they're, you know, really struggling, and they're making money off of these people.
And it's not even just low income earners. It is like the average American person.
Yeah,
who
the
carries
average
a balance.
American has credit card debt.
Yeah, and if you carry a balance, this is exactly how they make money.
Absolutely. It just shows you the scary stuff of the compound interest world.
It is definitely scary.
Yes.
Okay, let's flip the switch a bit and talk about how compound interest can be good.
Yes. So we're hoping that if you're listening to this and we've scared the credit card compound interest into you enough, you're ready to pay off that. Well, let's talk about how compound interest can be your friend when you're investing. That's when stuff gets really exciting. That's when the good feelings start to come along.
Yes. So for these numbers, we are just starting at age 30. Justin's about to turn 30 this year.
Oh my gosh.
I know, old man. So we're just doing that for our starting number, and we're just doing for 30 years of investing. Now, most people would invest even longer than that. They don't usually retire at 60 years old. People retire a little older these days. So we could even plug it in for 35 years, but we're just going to do it for 30 years for the sake of the podcast.
Nice, clean numbers.
Yeah. So if you were to start at age 30 and only invest $50 every month for 30 years until you're 60 years old, we just put the rate of return at 10%. At the end, when you were 60 years old, you would have $103,000, almost $104,000.
Yeah, which obviously wouldn't quite be enough to retire with.
It's definitely not enough to retire.
But
it's something.
And if you have some type of pension plan or other opportunity with your work, this could be a little bit of money on the back end that could really help you.
Right.
Yeah. So 10% is a decent rate of return. You know, it might be
Yeah.
a little bit lower. Some people kind of factor in 7 if they're a little bit, you know, risk averse. Some people might say that, you know, like, oh, their rate of return could be like 12%. Who knows? But either way, looking at $104,000 at the end of it all, just for doing $50 a month, that's not too terrible. That's
Right.
pretty darn good. And I think all of us could probably find $50 in our budget that we flub up every single month.
Oh.
And what a better way to spend it.
Easy. Okay, now if you were to double that
Yes.
and do $100 a month,
Yes.
that's That's only $1,200 a year.
That's not that much.
I mean, it's really not that much if you look at it. I mean, you can invest it all at once at the beginning of the year, but we were just dividing up like per each month if you were to do little payments. But if you were to do $100 a month for 30 years at the 10% rate of return, it's it over doubles.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's $207,000.
Yeah, almost 208,000.
Oh yeah, almost 208.
And obviously, 50 to 100, there's a little bit of a jump there, but again, a nice dinner out at a restaurant is easily $100 for a couple, well, I shouldn't say that. Not easily, but where we're at in California and you and I are wine drinkers, it can get up to $100. So, if you make that small sacrifice and skip dinner out one night and that's what you choose to do instead, your money's really working for you because the compound interest is going to be pretty darn nice for you.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Okay, now if someone wants to go a little more crazy, why don't you talk about 200?
Yeah. Okay. So the last numbers we want to run for you are just $200. Your contribution each month is $200, starting at age 30 with nothing else in there. You are putting it in every single month at a 10% rate of return for 30 years. At the end of 30 years, you would have $415,000. 858 is the
So
actual
almost
dollar change on there.
416.
Yeah, about $416,000, and that's from investing $200 a month. Now, we're not financial advisors, so we can't tell you what to do with your money, but we can certainly tell you what we do with our money. And that is a Roth IRA.
Yeah.
Roth IRA has, I think, an annual contribution of like $6,000. So that's about $500 a month. Now, if you were able to do something like that for 30 years, just your Roth IRA, annual contribution maxes out at $6,000. You can't put anything else in there. $500 a month. You are going to retire with $1,039,000 after 30 years. You are a millionaire by doing $500 in your Roth every single month for 30 years. And something that's really interesting about this is when you contribute to something like a Roth IRA, you don't have to do this $500 monthly. Let's say you get a really big bonus every October. Put your bonus money into your Roth IRA and let it do work for you.
Or if you happen to get a tax return or something like that.
Yeah, there's so many things you can do. And the limit is, $6,000. Now, there's some income limits. I think it's like $120,000 as a married couple. So, not everybody is eligible for a Roth IRA. I will say that. You'll have to talk to your own, tax and financial advisor to see what you can do. But because our income limit does fall under that, we're in the Roth IRA and we're going to retire with a decent amount of money.
Yeah, we have full intention to max out Roth IRAs for each of us.
Yeah.
So that would be, double that.
Yeah, which is exciting. It's really exciting.
Yeah, it's $2,079,000.
That'd be really cool to do.
That'd be really cool on top of our pension. So, if you have a work pension or 401k, we are not giving people like investing advice on what they should do, but if you have anything extra to throw at a Roth IRA, it's just a cherry on top when you retire, and it can really help you out. I keep seeing in the debt-free community on Instagram, you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket.
Yes.
So if you have a pension plan through work, or you have a 403b or 401k, having a Roth IRA is not a bad idea. You're just adding another retirement bucket, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. And just so the listeners know, the tool that we're using for this is on bankrate.com, and we're just using their compound savings calculator. Like, super simple. Anybody can go online and plug numbers in, so you can find out what you would do, or what can work for you. Like Mimi from Meadowsweet Money said, if $10 is all you can do, let's do that. Let's just get some money put away for you because you deserve it. We want you to be, I don't want to say comfortable because, obviously $10 compounded isn't going to be a ton, but it's something to start at, and that's huge. You never know what can come down the road, but one of the most important things that people say is time in the market is better than timing the market. Meaning, if you're investing long term, even if it's a smaller amount, you're probably going to be better off than trying to beat the system.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I just think so many times people think it's too late. It's not too late.
It's never too late.
Especially, I know who our audience is. Most of you are millennials.
Yeah.
I know who our audience is on Instagram too. It is 80% female millennials, from the age 40 to 25. Like, we have those people. It's never too late.
Yeah.
You can start investing when you're 50. Obviously, that's not enough time to get $1 million unless you're investing a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
But it's never too late. Compound interest, the longer you're in, the more it just keeps growing. So
absolutely. And obviously this was a shorter episode, so you may still be hesitant about compound interest or even investing. And we just suggest, like we said earlier, speak to a financial advisor in your area and find out maybe how you can dip your toes in the water and begin to invest so that your future you appreciates it.
And we recently started working with a new financial advisor who we adore. So if you want to have information on who we're working with, and they don't even live in California, so you can be across the whole entire United States and work with this person.
Yep.
We would love to connect you. So if you don't know where to start and you want to dab into investing, but you don't have any idea where to begin or how much to put in or any of it, definitely reach out. We can give you that information.
Yeah. One of the things we really preach is that whenever you're working with somebody that's helping you sort through your money or talk about your money, you want them to be able to help teach you. You don't want to feel like you're lost even when they're doing things, because that can still be intimidating and terrifying. And the advisor that we're working with is absolutely awesome. I really appreciate everything he's done. And he's been a rock star since before he was our advisor. He's been a friend of ours, and now he's in that space, and we're working with him, and it's been great because he's already taught us and helped us with some things. So if you're interested, let us know.
And there's so much trust, and that is huge. You have to understand what they're saying, and you have to trust the person because they're dealing with your wealth and your retirement, and you need to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I would definitely not tie my money up with someone who I thought was speaking French to me.
Absolutely. Okay, so Toasties, you have 2 action steps for the end of this episode. 2 things we want you to do over the next week. The first one is try and pay off your credit card debt, because compound interest on your credit card debt is terrifying. And the second one is try and get into investing, because compound interest when you're investing is awesome. And we want you to make all the money in the world because you deserve it.
You totally do. This is a great, fun episode.
It was a blast. It's always fun talking about compound interest, doing the good stuff at the end.
Yeah. Screw the credit cards.
Yeah.
Let's invest.
Nice to end with the good stuff. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of The Price of Avocado Toast. As always, we're so thankful to be part of this community. It feels like the love just continues to grow with compound interest. Happy budgeting.
You've got this, Toasties.
Thanks for listening to The Price of Avocado Toast. If you vibed with this episode, share it with a friend that you're comfortable having money talks with. And if you don't mind, we'd love if you could rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
If you're in need of my support as a financial coach, message me on Instagram. I'd love to help in any way that I can. Until next time.